step
Yep.
through our own fears, um, whatever holds us back, and to be truly ourselves in this life, because that's where everything can meet us. And the more we are ourselves, we're vulnerable, we're open, that's also what we're met with. When we allow ourselves to do that thing that feels scary, it doesn't really matter the outcome, because no matter what, it gives us energy. We feel that energy coursing through our bodies. So I think in that, it's also just the act of doing is enough. The outcome
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
Hi, I'm Mickelle Weber, founder of House of Peregrine. This show is for life abroad and those crafting their life story with intention. I bring you conversations about international finances, meaning making, relationships, and parenting. I bring on the experts to help you on your journey so that you can connect more deeply with yourself, people around you, and the place you currently call home. Find out more at houseofperegrine.com. You can find exclusive guides, products, software, and a community that's waiting to welcome you. Welcome to House of Peregrine. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the House of Peregrine podcast. Today, we're talking about that moment when you can feel you're changing, but you can't quite name what's happening yet. These moments may happen to everyone, but can be even more frequent and have bigger consequences when you live abroad. Today, my guest is Jewel Mondros, an energetic consultant, intuitive healer, and frequency guide who works with people and spaces, supporting clients in reconnecting to their intuition, inner voice, and authentic expression. Jewel's work is rooted in real transformation, and her path into it began through her own healing crisis, when she realized the answers she needed weren't going to come from doing more, but from listening to herself differently. Her retreats have been featured in Elle, and she's also the creator of the Ritual Soul Oracle deck. Today, we're going to explore energy in a way that's grounded and human, how to tune into your own intuition, and how to trust the version of you that's emerging. If you've been feeling a little untethered or like you're standing at the edge of a new version of yourself, today's episode is for you. For those of you who may be new here, I'm Mickelle Weber, founder and host of the House of Peregrine podcast. Thanks for being here and welcome. Welcome, Jewel. I'm really excited for this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, perfect. So I want to start out, just gave that introduction, and it's, can mean different things to different people. So I would love to hear you quickly tell us your Peregrine story. You've lived and been to a few places yourself, and then maybe give us a quick explanation of what it is you do in your own words.
Yeah, I love it. So I've lived back and forth in Europe probably about the past 13 years. Actually, my first time abroad on this side of the world was studying in Rome. When I was 20, 21, I studied fine arts. And one thing led to another. I was in Germany for the next semester. Went back to the States and then finished university. And then quickly, I think within days of graduating, went back to Europe, was an au pair. I think I was just doing anything that resonated to be able to travel and experience the world. So I was an au pair, and I would also just paint, and I would have little exhibitions when I went home and sell my art and then go back to Europe. And so that was my journey for a while. I had many love experiences, I would say, which is relevant because that's actually how I learned the tarot.
Oh, nice.
When I was also in Rome, when I was 21, I was gifted my first tarot deck, and, feeling a bit untethered, I think that's the word you have used,
Yeah.
is definitely relevant living abroad and searching and not having that home base. So for me to have the tarot with me, I would pull cards, and that really supported me. I would learn just from pulling my own cards and pulling cards for others eventually. I think maybe 5 years in, I lived in Berlin. And then I started doing readings for other people. And I worked as an artist assistant for this big artist there. I met who would be actually my reason for moving to Amsterdam. In between, went back to New York City, worked as a freelance artist in New York City, and then got deeper into the spiritual, the energetics. It was always something that really grounded me. But I took some trainings and again was reading more and more for family, friends. And then COVID hit and I was a bit stranded on my own. Channeled my current deck, the Ritual Soul Oracle deck, and I was separated from my partner at the time, waiting for the borders to open so that I could move to Amsterdam. And I literally finished channeling my deck, got my Reiki training, and the next day the borders had opened and I booked a flight and packed 2 suitcases and moved to Amsterdam 6 years ago.
Wow. So it was really, yeah, well, you're using the medicine yourself.
The medicine was for me first. So grounding, so supportive. And then for others.
Nice. Nice. And so a lot of this work is really sometimes either hard to understand, people are suspicious of it, they think it might be pretend or just for fun, which, let's be honest, it is fun. It can be fun. But in my experience, there's at the very least a mirror that you can have in having a tarot card reading. You can say, oh, that's not right. Oh, no, that really resonates. Oh, is that right? So even without a belief in maybe the spiritual, it's an experience. It can be an experience that can have benefits beyond just the fun every, like at a party or something or with friends. Tell me how you experience that, because I think you've told me before that you channel along with the tarot card reading. So tell me a little bit about that and how it connects to, or it can connect to, like personal growth, and then what the channeling adds to that.
Okay. So will you say it one more
Yeah,
time?
it was a very long question. First, I wanted everyone to know that a lot of people have suspicions about this sort of work. And it's been my experience that even when I first started working in this space, I don't do readings, but I receive readings, is that it holds up a mirror for you to be able to be like, oh, is that something I didn't consider? It's almost like someone else looking at your outfit and giving you input. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that. So when I first started with maybe using it a little bit more for personal growth, it was kind of that was kind of my in of like, hey, what's the problem of just having a reading and testing it against my own intuition? And so that's one way in, because so I'm going to reformulate my question in a second. From my experience, when you feel unmoored, when you're living abroad, when you're maybe going through something big, there's no one really to ask. There's no one to be like, oh, so I want to go home, or my partner or my kid's going through this. There's no one to ask. So your intuition, your own inner world, needs to become more fortified than it was in ways that you actually can't train for. So that's what kind of led me down this path, is because there was no one that could like help me through these transitions. So I needed to become stronger in myself. But what got me started was not being like, this is just suspicious, it's a scam, it's whatever. I was like, oh no, this can be a mirror. So that's my first thing, is like, if you're searching for something or a way to just gut check yourself, this is one way in. But you then add to that channeling. So tarot card reading is one thing, which maybe you can explain what tarot is, and then explain what channeling with tarot in.
Yeah, I love this. It's definitely a very like multi-dimensional question.
Yeah.
And I really love it because there's
Pick
so
your dimension.
much to it. I think to start is like, yeah, discernment's a big one. Different readers have different styles. I myself, after even reading for so long, like I'm very discerning when I go to a reader. But whenever I find one that resonates, or I just use my intuition, right? We're using our intuition. We're going with who resonates. And when I give a reading and when I receive a reading, what really comes through is like, this is like a prayer for the soul. So it really feels in some ways like you can, if you're a good reader, if you're receiving a good reading, it's a prayer for the soul. Like you're held, your soul is held in this moment. You're being seen and you're allowing someone else to Again, be a mirror and hold space. It's a lot about space. We talked a little bit about space, and this is like the first thing is like the invisible spaces that are held. And for when I'm giving a reading, I think of it as what we discuss. I will ask a lot, does this resonate? Or what does this mean to you? And we're putting everything in space. So we're putting it out. And then eventually we have this energetic space where we've spoken things out. We've looked at things. We've moved deeper, maybe into the subconscious, the unconscious. We've had a chance to sit with things, feel things that we might not in every day. And then we're able to alchemize certain beliefs, maybe look at things from a different perspective. So a lot of it is about perspective. A lot of it is about mirroring back. Oh, well, I heard you say this. And then the person will be like, oh my gosh, like this has been on my heart and mind like this whole time, but I haven't thought about it like that, or I haven't even realized. So it's a lot about the chills and the things that resonate because they're already there. It's not like we're pulling things that aren't there. It's just giving it an opportunity to really be seen, to be sat with, to be felt.
Wow. And so you're reflecting back, like, I mean, there's some, like we've spoken about, there's a lot of modalities for growth. So there's like coaching, therapy, workout coaches, even like there's so many ways to grow, but very few of them in my experience outside of like psychedelics or body work can kind of get to that, what you're consciously thinking about or what maybe in your consciously in your awareness or in your space. And then there's the subconscious layer, and then all the layers beneath that, the shadow layer, everything else. And shadow can be good and bad and scary and not scary, but it's just what you can't see consciously. And so you're taking the field and helping people take another look at it, maybe.
Yeah, and go maybe a little bit deeper. And we're always going as deep as whoever is sitting in front of me is ready to go. So yeah, it's a co-creation. It's working together. Um, yeah, some people are very ready to go deep. Some people go deeper than they realize that they were ready to go, but they knew like it's a resonance. It's like it feels right. They just didn't expect it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I really love to go deep. So, it's always an honor and it's always great when someone is open and ready to go there. I always say this work is for those who are ready. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be said about a lot of work. I don't know. That's not even the right word. I don't even like the word modality, but any work in the subconscious world or in the ether or in the energy world is kind of like that. It's like psychedelics, like I said, in my experience, body work, but there are just some things you can't reach through therapy, coaching, writing, even. There are different layers, different things. So how does channeling come in? So tell us what tarot is exactly and how you use it. And then tell us about the channeling part.
So with tarot, always 78 cards. There's going to be the major arcana, which is the fool's journey. It's similar to the hero's journey. So you find yourself in each of the 22 major arcana cards. And then there's the minor arcana, there's the suits, which are the four elements. So a lot of my work involves the four elements, and just coming back from Bali and having experienced like the culture there and the rituals. I see actually how like tarot feels so European, but the four elements feel so native and so tribal. And a lot of my wisdom and knowledge of that came from the tarot, like unknowingly, as I was learning it. So there will always be that in the tarot. So you follow a format and you pull a card and it's divination. So you will read the reflection of that card. Like what is the meaning? I actually have a deck in front of me as well. And it's different from Oracle as well because Oracle does not follow the specific format.
Hmm.
And I have my Oracle deck. It's intuitively made. So there's no major arcana, there's no minor. You get to pick and choose how you want it to flow. And then channeling is, so for example, we'll pull a card and we have the Two of Pentacles.
All right. What does that say about me?
Well, this is juggling two different things. Pentacles is physical. It's the physical realm, which is earth. So it's resources, it's money, it's the body. And two tends to be about a pair. It could be a relationship, two people coming together, but it could also be balancing work and something else, right? He's really juggling. So the attention is a bit divided, but really trying to find that intuitive flow. We see the water in the background, and channeling tends to be a mix of trusting so you're opening something. For me, it's always from the heart and the third eye and the crown. So I'll feel it move within those spaces. And when I do a reading, I work with your higher self, my higher self. So the channeling, I mean, there's so much to get into here, especially when we talk about like different readers and stuff. But I do find the structure and the groundedness of the channeling important, like to call in the protection, to call in the higher energies. That's a big part of the work, so that we all feel safe doing the work. And then channeling is trusting the messages that come through that might not even be seen in the card, but you get feelings. Maybe it's a feeling of like a lot of people, I have chills right now as well. When they have someone close to them pass, they will be with us, and I'll just share that. And it's often very like loving and supportive messages that come through. And sometimes I even like have tears that come up, and that is channeling to me. It's not logical. You can't really make sense of it, but it's felt.
Yeah. And it's for that person that you've made an agreement with. They're coming to you for your reading, but also energetically, you've made the agreement that you can tap into their energy, you're using your skills to channel something for them. I always find it difficult to explain these things, so you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And unseen realms are something that get kind of a bad rap, but I think not a bad rap. I think it's becoming more like people are more open to it. But I think the interpersonal nature of channeling is sometimes pretty special. And so I think it's like having a therapy relationship or even a friendship. It's not really a friendship, but it's like letting people into your energy, letting them reflect what they see, what they're feeling. Yeah, it's really nice. So combining the two is kind of a nice gift. And if you're looking for me at least, if you're like, something's up and I can't quite, or something, I'm stuck either at a decision or just like not feeling off, feeling even great, just having those little tap moments, like little tapping into these unseen realms has been helpful for me. So, and I can imagine for your clients as well. Okay.
Totally.
So if we were in a session, you would pull the first card, then you would channel what's coming through for you, for that person. And do they normally come with a question, or do you normally just let it intuitively go?
Yeah, so I tend to ask, what is the intention when we begin? And it usually flows from there. Sometimes they don't have an intention. They're just like, I just want to know what's going on. Or, I just want to see what comes up. But other times people really know. It's like, yeah, I'm here to ground, or I'm here to receive, or I'm here to find clarity. And then we set the intention and tend to flow from there.
Yeah, nice. I can imagine a process for someone who is in a big decision or a big inflection point. Say they're thinking of they need to move to another country, or they want to, or they're feeling off, or they need to make a career change. Those could be obvious moments to enter a process of rediscovery, relationship change. Those are big moments, right? And I imagine people come to you in that. And I would imagine a process like that could be like a combination of like coaching, your work, and maybe even psychedelics or revisioning, even vision board work, just to take a look at your life, what you're feeling, what's unseen. Is that something that I know you've done work with psychedelics. Tell us a little bit about that and how it relates to your work.
Yes. It's funny because hearing this, I'm like, okay, yes. There's many ways to do this work. It's like you can pop in for a session and we can get clarity and you get some insights, and maybe that's enough. Maybe you're like, oh, wow, I needed that. I feel reoriented. But sometimes you're in a phase of your life where so much is changing and you want to be held over time. You want the clarity, not just the clarity, but it's like, how do I keep up with this? How do I change? Or I always say it's not changing. It's like coming back to the self even deeper. It's how do you keep coming home? How do you let go of all those layers that you're not? So then it's like 3 months or 6 months over time. And maybe with like the new moon, maybe with the full moon, maybe with psychedelics, because these are all points that are really powerful to check in. And then on the retreats that I've done, that's when I tend to work with my clients with psychedelics, with microdosing. I can, you know, set you up on a ceremony if you want to go and do it on your own. But for the safety of the spaces that I work in, I prefer to work with microdosing because it's very gentle but
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. So tell us about that, because I've kind of made my own little protocol because people
Yeah.
over the last 10 years, but tell me your process with your clients. So from your beautiful retreats that have been featured in magazines and continue to do well, tell me what that process looks like, say over a year, or let's say 6 months with your clients.
In the retreats or in the one-on-one work?
So let's say someone comes to you for one-on-one work, they're going through a big transition, and then they want to end or begin in a retreat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. So they'll come, we'll do the work.
Which is like a reading.
So basically, if we're working over time, we start with a reading at the beginning of a session. Typically, it's like, okay, what's your intention? Where are you? For example, maybe it's big work changes. People tend to come during, as you mentioned, these big transformations. So relational work, and they come and they're like, we start unraveling, we start opening to the initiation of what's coming. It's an initiation, right? It's just the beginning. They're typically standing at the doorway. We do 3 months, we do 6 months, and then they're like, okay, I'm really clear now. And typically what we're doing is setting them up to understand the energy that they're working with. And it's not me teaching them. I'm not sitting there like teaching, but we're working together in these spaces over time. So it's almost like it's like a muscle. You begin to work with your intuition deeper. You begin to see the patterns, a deeper pattern recognition over time. We're also doing the second half of the session is a deep guided meditation with Reiki. If it's in person, it's typically just hands-on Reiki. If it's virtual, it's with my voice. And I take you someplace. We move through certain energetic processes. I find this so powerful. And I'm also, when you leave, you get my portal, which is full of maybe 40 plus guided energy, Reiki infused meditations. Working with either the inner child, with maybe spirit guides, with the earth, with water. So over time, you just are in the frequency of it. You're returned to a truer, more pure frequency. The society that we live in, it's so loud, and I don't want to like put my own sort of I don't have many opinions on it. I just know there's not a lot of space to be in our truest frequency in the way that we live now. So the more time you spend in meditation, in the work, you come back home, you come back to yourself. And then you feel a sense of confidence navigating these situations. So then my clients will be like, okay, well, that was clarifying and insightful, whatever it is. And then they'll typically come to me. Maybe they'll take a break and then they'll come for a retreat or a check-in session. We arrive at the retreats where we can do where we enter into the space, and we always work with the full and the new moon, one or the other on a retreat. It's intentionally set up because again, there are these powerful check-in points where we can gain clarity, we can set new intentions, we can release what no longer serves us.
And just
And
and just
then
as a
we can
and
also
just as a
bring in,
question, really quick,
yes.
are you working with them with a microdose if they want before this, or is it only on the retreat that you're working with a microdose?
So yeah, there's always the option if they want to work with a microdose with one-on-one with me as well. Um,
Okay, so I just want to tap into that a little bit before we go into the retreats, because I think it's important for people to understand a microdose. In your opinion, what does that do if someone's trying to work on the unseen layers, their subconscious, or enter into the work, as you put it? People reference the work all the time, but the work is coming home to yourself. For some people, it's reaching spiritual realms. For others, it's reaching unseen layers for others. But how does microdosing help to access that, would you say?
so the truest thing for me from working with them over time is neural pathway. It's the idea that when we work with them intentionally, they help us maybe bypass certain walls. And it's the same with cacao, right? It's like we can bypass certain places we get stuck. And whether it's sometimes, it can even feel placebo because we cannot really feel a microdose. I mean, we can if we're sensitive, but it's working on a very subtle layer. But it's also saying, hey, I'm committing to this process of like 30 days where I am going to be reminded whether it's every other day or every third day, that these are my intentions that I'm working with. And this is the phase of my life. And I've committed to this process. It's like any journey, like a weight loss journey, you actively commit to it and you're anchoring in something physical that also works on an energetic or spiritual layer.
And the advantages to that, in my experience, are there's a lot that we shut down, whether we were born innately with it or not. You can debate that all day long, but you're opening back up part of your senses, call it your intuition, call it higher realms, that are really, really useful if you are trying to find your. It's like almost having a heightened sense of smell, if we were to relate it, or taste. If you're in the middle of a forest and you need to find your way home, having enhanced intuition or senses helps you. And so for me, psychedelics has been a little bit of that, as opening up these other senses or parts of my own intuition or knowing that maybe I cut off to survive, or maybe, in being a woman, or we have all sorts of reasons for dulling our senses, or at least I have. And psychedelics has given me back access to some of that when you're in a process or you're in a big change, can be really helpful if you need more access to more of your knowing.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, it's becoming more sensitive.
Yeah.
They really open up your perception, and your perception is everything
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but we do have to shut it down. And that's what I want people to know is, like, we all have more ability to sense things than we know. And we use very little of it on purpose, especially if you've gone through something big like a move, or even just going through university. I feel like was such a hard, like, I had to shut down a lot of my senses just to get through that. And so I think that it doesn't have to be a big T trauma, but just life shuts us down for whatever reason in this world. And so coming back to this actually kind of makes you more effective at a lot of things. And I know microdosing is a huge buzzword, but the way you're using it in this realm is really, really nice. And so I love how you're combining this. It's kind of a process I've made for myself, but I'm really glad you're doing it for others. And maybe I want to try it. But that having someone guide you to your intuition, to your center, and then staying with it over a prolonged time, having touch points back to it without doing like a hero's dose of psychedelics or doing something crazy. This is a very subtle, very stable, seeming to me, way to access parts of yourself that uses the power of psychedelics, but is a little bit more gentle. And I would say sometimes women respond better to this than maybe a hero's journey of psychedelics, which is so popular.
Yeah, and like a hero's journey can be great for like its time and place.
Yeah, of course.
For
Yeah.
especially I found like in the beginning when you're kind of becoming more sensitive, you're becoming more trusting of yourself. There's more trauma to be moved from the body. It can really open those things up and can be, again, it's like a beautiful mirror. I
Yep.
find the mushrooms extremely spiritual in that way. You know, we can talk about the scientific ways, but I do find it very spiritual. But then the microdosing is really of like the everyday life, like the consistency, consistency again is used lightly. It's like the showing up for the self, the neural pathways, the learning the new ways and having
Yep.
it integrated in everyday life.
Yep. Yeah. And it's really like, you're using a muscle. So now on to the retreats. So I feel like, so someone could work with you 1 reading, 2 readings over a few months with a microdose, without a microdose, but then they want to come to your beautiful retreats. So tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so the retreats are always, I call them energetic retreats. And they're always, so much of the work is about intuition. So it's trusting that the right people come together, that the right space is created, but also chosen. So typically, once I find the right space for a retreat, that's when I know I'm going to move forward with it. And typically, there's like 1 or 2 people who are already like kind of waiting for it. They're like, I'm in. And then, so it's like, okay, this is happening. And from there, it's typically about 5 days. Although my next retreat, I am planning spoken on it actually at all. So this will be my first like public share, but it will be most likely in Bali in September. So then going all the way to Asia, maybe it's a bit longer. But the details come together. You fly there from the moment that you arrive, wherever it is. My last retreat was in the Azores, and the 2 before that were in Lanzarote. So I have something for these like very volcanic,
Yeah.
special, lush islands.
Volatile. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
volatile.
No. I love it. No, I'm kidding you mostly. But so the location really matters, and that's another area you work in. And so let's go over the retreat really quick. So 5 days ish, and you're doing mostly energetic, maybe mixed with some microdose.
Exactly. In Bali, obviously, we will not do the microdose because we
Okay.
always
Follow the
respect
rules.
the
Yeah.
follow the rules, and it is extremely illegal there, which is very interesting. But after spending 2 months there, I really felt like I came back from a 2-month long mushroom journey where I was completely sober the entire time.
Yeah.
So that is the nature of the spaces we work with. The space can really do a lot of the energetic work for us. And a lot of my job is just curating the right boundaries, safety protocols, also fun, like to have like a great chef, right? To have like a beautiful space, like to have great people. It's the curation of that. It's sometimes even the aesthetics adds to that. But the space, both the location and the retreat center that I choose is really important to how we move through the retreat. And we combine a lot of meditation, private sessions, yoga, and usually a couple excursions. So we'll really experience outside of the retreat center. We'll go on maybe a big hike we've done. We've done trips to other islands from Lanzarote. So there's always something that adds to the energy of the group as well. We're working collectively as well as individually, and the microdosing as well.
Yeah, and that's a powerful combination because I think interpersonal work is underutilized at this moment. So you can do as much therapy as you want, and you can still go to Thanksgiving and you have interpersonal problems, right? Or
Yeah.
work, or these patterns that show up in your life that can only be exercised interpersonally. And so working in a group is really powerful. I've just gotten back from a group retreat that was crazy. It's like a psychedelic, it's totally psychedelic, but it's all about this. No psychedelics, but it's work that you can't do anywhere else. And it's actually sometimes your biggest things that are holding you back are these transpersonal or interpersonal patterns that you don't know that you have until you
100%.
yeah. So I think this is where I would love people to realize that you can be doing your own personal work as long as you want with a therapist for 20 years, and you'll never reach some of the places you can reach with a group or with psychedelics and a group. So that's super interesting. And tarot, of course.
Mhm.
And so this combination is super interesting. Okay. So you say that sounds lovely. We'll put the link when you're ready everywhere so people can check it out. And then what I would love for you to go into is how you work with spaces. And then we talked about maybe you channeling for the first time for a business for House of Peregrine. And so I want to hear about spaces though, because I love how you said that the space is actually part of the magic. I think that's underestimated a whole bunch. And I love that you're taking that into account, because I always say that actually the country you're in or where you decide to spend that chapter of your life actually it impacts how your life is lived. Location is extremely important, like maybe the most important. And so tell me about your work with spaces. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So there's the traditional, like, energetic work with spaces, which is space cleansing and feng shui, right? And that can be so powerful. But in my experience, it is like whenever you travel, whenever you go someplace, the place you stay has a certain frequency. And it determines, like exactly like you said, the way you move and the way you live and even the way you feel throughout, whether you're staying there for just a couple nights, whether it's your home. So the work with spaces is newly emerging. I've been doing my research also while in Bali. I was there for 2 months and I stayed in probably 14 different accommodations.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was really just being in it. The way I like to do my work is like really to like live it, to be in the experience of it. And I just witnessed the experience of and I had already had it from the retreats, right? Like why the first retreat I saw it and I had never been to the place actually. I had been to the island, spent time on the island, spent time in that location. But I saw it, I just saw the pictures and I thought, okay, this is it. Like, this is the space. And it held us so well. And from then on, I became very sensitive to the energy of the spaces and also the energy of the things that happen in our homes, the things that break, the things that aren't working. There's so much information and all of that. And so,
Okay, so a lot of people have leaks, and I've noticed a lot of people have leaks in their apartments
yeah.
or their workplaces when they are either needing to move on, or tell me what a leak or a water in a space where it's not wanted might mean as an example.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. It's so fun for me because it's emotional. It's again, it's going back to the elements. And if you think about water, water is creativity, it's flow. So there's something either overflowing, there's something like maybe the emotions aren't properly, being sat with, being felt. But it can also be if it's in the bathroom, for example, like a leak in the sink. It can also be like money is like leaving too fast. Like the money is just like flowing away. So you tell me.
No. So if someone were to say, "Oh my God, this is happening," or is that maybe a clue you sometimes use? Like, okay, so what's going on with your house?
Exactly. It's what's going on in the home. And it's also like, why do we not get these things fixed? And sometimes it's like really challenging. There's obstacles, there's resistance, either in the physical world or within us around
Hmm.
getting these things fixed. So
Oh my
each,
gosh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it's probably the same thing that's keeping you same, not thought, but the same blockage or the same pattern. Is that a good way of putting it? That's stopping you from fixing something in your house or breaking in your house that is maybe in relationships or in your financial world, or it translates. My favorite saying is, you are who you are. Wherever you look, there you are.
Yeah. Or the way you do one thing, you do everything. Very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Okay. So that's really cool. And so do you help people sometimes if you clear something in a space, does it help in your own other areas of your life as well? So is that maybe one portal in if maybe working personally is too confronting?
Yes. So if you begin to work with your space, the inside also changes. It's inner and outer.
Mm.
So we can do a bit of work on the inside. And I will say that the truffles, the mushrooms have also taught me a lot about this, the clearing effect. If you just think about being in like a messy office, it's going to be really challenging to get the right amount to get the work done, to be in the flow.
Yeah.
If you think about being in like a beautiful office where everything's exactly where you need it, or at the very least, you have a couple of beautiful things to look at. And here's the thing, like, it's so important to work with like if we were working together, it would be different than like another person because you have very specific things that work for you and your energy. Because maybe you don't care so much about beauty. You're like, oh, I don't care. Like, I need function. So it's like,
That would not be me, by the way. I wish.
as soon as I said it, I had a feeling. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
okay, not a good example.
I'm a Libra.
Me too.
I wish beauty didn't. If I could be a functional girl, life would be different, but that is not how I roll. But yeah, I get it. So some people get really a lot of energy from things being functional, or maybe it doesn't bother them. Or people like me are like, if it's pretty, I'll make it work and it will give me energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really unique and important to each person. But then, there's overarching things like the kitchen. The kitchen is the digestion, the nourishment, the fire of the space. There's the bathroom. It's where you let go. It's where you clean yourself. It's your closet is, if your closet's a mess, then what's going on in there? What else? Like, what's stuffed up in there, and clearing out the closet um, is so energetic. And so also the kitchen. So it's inner outer work. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, everyone's going to look at their house differently now. Great.
Yes,
And then energetically, that's another thing that you can help with and help people give tips. So I want to move on to we talked about doing a reading for House of Peregrine, something you've never done before. I would love just a mini taste of what you with your if you're up for it still.
absolutely.
And then move into maybe a collective message for our peregrines if you can.
I
So
love
House of Peregrine, I'll just give you a little bit of peregrine means out. It's a bird that exists on every continent of the world, but it means outsider. And so it feels for me, this is an experience that we all have when we live abroad is you don't actually belong one place ever again. And so that's what we're all about, creating around with people who were having that experience and for. And then I don't know what else you need to know. Media, technology.
When did you start House of Peregrine?
Whoa, we got the sage going. Good job. Whoa, that was fast. Sorry, I put you on the spot. When did we start? We officially started during COVID. And when was that? 5, 10 years ago? When? A lifetime?
2001? 2000? 2000. Is that right?
2020? 2020.
Oh, sorry, 2020,
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah. So 2021, probably.
Okay. Okay. And do you have an intention for House of Peregrine?
Yeah. Well, we're
Or any?
ready to grow in a certain direction. So I want to know if it has it has a life of its own that it wants to take. And so I would love some insight on that, I guess.
Okay. Insight and clarity on the path
Hmm.
ahead.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. And then I'm just going to pull one more overall. Okay, I am just going to start. I will always say take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and this will be a co-creation. So I might ask you questions as well. Yeah. Are you
Yeah. Sounds
excited?
good. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited. And I'm watching children go up the stairs. So it's funny. Yes. I'm excited. And thank you.
Of course. So we're starting. I did a 3-card, 4-card spread. It's past, present, future, because the past always informs the present and the future. This was the past. So we have union. So obviously this was kind of the message I get that for you, actually, this was sort of a path to wholeness. This House of Peregrine has really created a sense of wholeness and integration within you. It was something that needed to come forth. Does that resonate?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So our present is level up.
And this is your deck, right? This is your drawings?
Yes, we're using the Ritual
Beautiful.
Soul Oracle deck, which I
Nice.
created.
Yeah, beautiful. Level up. I like it.
Yeah. So obviously that speaks of, I think you said it yourself, a level up, a new direction or something unfolding, an expansion in House of Peregrine. And it also says, self-love, doubt, celebrate, woo, fear as well. So all of these different feelings might be present as you're in the process of leveling up. It doesn't just come with the ease and the grace that we all imagine a level up to be. Does that
So
resonate?
true. Yeah, so true. Well, and I think when there's a vision as large as ours, it's terrifyingly big, but also it's a big space to operate under, but you just have to take the right next step. And so that can, again, using your intuition, using everything we've talked about, that's where I'm at.
Exactly.
That's where we're at.
Yes. And with the intuition, we also have this is your overall card, which is the angel numbers. And whenever this card shows up, you can always trust that as well. It's divinely guided. The message that I am getting in general about the overall energy of the business is, as you said, it has formed its own entity as businesses become. It's its own thing and it knows where it's headed. The energy of your business is big, it's energetic, it's moving, it's flowing, and it has its own sense of direction at this point. So you don't need to force it. I feel like that's an important message that your business wants to share with you, actually, is not to overthink it. Don't
That is my weakness.
overcomplicate
That
it.
is my weakness.
Libra.
The mind is my weakness. No, that's awesome.
It's your gift and your weakness, right? Because the mind can be an amazing tool. But I do feel like in the future, the biggest thing for you will just be getting out of your own way with it. Immediately, I feel like we're just sitting in the energy of the business and it's taking care of things. So if you do feel overwhelmed by the process that is expansion, because expansion, as much as it feels light and it feels fun, that's why people come and do this work, is because it's
Yep.
challenging
Yep.
and sometimes it hurts. So you can allow for yourself to like sit in the energy of your business. I get the colors like silver, black, white, and let it like be sparkly. Let it give you what it needs or what you need. And when you feel rested and nourished in it, it will feel confident to continue to do what it needs. So that is the messages from House of Peregrine and for House of Peregrine.
Wow. Fantastic. It's so unintuitive, but it's a lesson I keep learning. So those are very resonant messages with my overall patterns and things that I needed reminders of. So that was very, very good. Thank you.
I love that. And shall we pull a card or two for the listeners?
Yes. So explain how this works for the listeners, for our peregrines.
Yeah, so I'm just going to invite us all to close our eyes for 2 seconds and to take a deep breath in, maybe hand on the heart and breathing out. And I'm going to suggest or recommend that you have an intention, maybe a word. Maybe it's nourish, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's receive, maybe it's beauty, maybe it's flow. What do you need most today? And I am going to pull a card and it's for the collective. And I'm going to set the intention from my higher self to yours that you receive what's needed. You can say in your mind, I am open to receiving. Okay. So we have one card. We have very cute cards. So this is for our collective, for me, for you, for our listeners today, for who it resonates for. And we got the first card is fear. So yeah, whatever fear, like fear will always be there. Fear always comes up. Fear is also we contract, but the message is really stepping through the fear. Whatever you want, whatever you need is on the other side of fear. So what steps can you take? Can you even just sit with the fear? Maybe that's all that's needed is just to be like, oh, where is this coming from? Like, where is this coming from? What is this trying to teach me? And it doesn't have to be like this big thing. It can just be a moment where you tap in. And then the next card is vulnerability will set you free. So
Those two cards together are terrifying, but great.
they're terrifying. I wanted something a little bit lighter for us, but to be honest, it's probably what we all need, right? To step
Yeah.
through our own fears, whatever holds us back, and to be truly ourselves in this life, because that's where everything can meet us. And the more we are ourselves, we're vulnerable, we're open, that's also what we're met with, the universe. So I think they're beautiful cards, not the easiest cards, but I think that they can definitely be helpers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that people, I mean, it feels like we're at a moment collectively where there's just a lot of uncertainty. And so I think keeping, especially if you're living globally, amplifies anything going on in the collective. And so I think that for me, that staying vulnerable is the hardest part if you're going through something. If you're fearful, staying open and vulnerable is actually your greatest weapon, but it's hardest to do.
It's so challenging sometimes because also I think we're not taught that it's safe to be vulnerable, but we really create that safety within ourselves as well. And I always think with the fear card, it's like there's the somatic feeling of fear. But actually, when we allow ourselves to do that thing that feels scary, it doesn't really matter the outcome because no matter what, it gives us energy. We feel that energy coursing through our bodies. So I think in that, it's also just the act of doing is enough. The outcome
Yeah.
doesn't really matter, which is a nice
Be,
reminder.
yeah, being brave is the exercise.
It is the exercise.
That's amazing. Well, did we do all the cards already?
Yeah. Do we
I'm
have
not
any
cutting you short.
last?
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any last questions for the cards?
What would it so this is a question that comes from not having, so people say this, what we've said all the time, right? Like, step into your fears, vulnerability. I would just like to bring in discernment as well. Because sometimes in our audience and people that we're speaking to, the brave thing can be massive, but then it's massively. So let's say you get divorced in your home country and you get divorced abroad. Those are two different scales and magnetism of effects. So discernment, of course, but also I would like to ask the cards, what is it, maybe an unexpected feeling that you've stepped through something, even if it's not the result you want?
Okay, what is an unexpected feeling?
Like an
That
indication that
an
you've stepped through that
indication.
fear. Yeah.
It says, don't let it define you. Yeah, I think that's like plenty enough. But even as you were asking, it's like the energy always shifts and the energy always changes. So even when something doesn't feel like it's right, I always think, and this card is actually coming in the next deck, I'm really excited for. It's the choices card. And I always believe that with working with energy, no matter where we are, because we've all had moments where we're like, shit, should I have made that choice? Was that like the dumbest choice? And also like living abroad and having things to think about, like visas, like all of that. So there is more. There's more at stake. But I always believe that with these choices, we're always ending up where we're meant to be anyway. So if we cannot, we can panic. Like I'm all for a good panic. That's part of the process as well. I'm like, if you need to smoke a cigarette and panic for 5 seconds, just don't let it become your whole future. Just do what you need to do, get it out, and then realize the energy always shifts. It always changes. And you'll end up in the right place. You never fuck it up. It always works out.
Yeah. What's yours will always find you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let it define you is a really good card for that. What happens, what happens. Just take the chance. Yep, good.
Just take the chance.
Or yeah, that's a really good reading for our collective.
Yeah.
Um, and I just really hope that people come away with this notion. Intuition is so important in our lives. And I really love that that is something you're helping people come back to with these new tools, new senses that they are gaining. And there's a lot of ways to work with this that you actually have. So you have your card deck, the Oracle deck. You do readings, like you pull cards online so people can find you on your Instagram if they want to get a sense. They can work one-on-one with you or come to your retreats. So do all of that. But I would just encourage everyone who's listening to explore what may be available to you that is innate to all humans that can help you on your path, whether you're making big decisions or if you're just trying to get to know yourself better or your partner or teach your kids. I think that there's a lot of ways that we have a lot of extra pressures as international people and the stakes are higher. And so I just encourage everyone listening to use everything at your disposal to get to know yourself better, your intuition. And yeah, I love how you're doing it, Jewel. So I really appreciate you sharing your process with us and defining some terms. And yeah, is there anything we didn't cover that you would love to discuss right now?
No, I think we covered mostly everything. I have a new deck coming as well, which is available on pre order. And I think it is pretty aligned with a lot of our discussion today as well, because it's a deck for recalibrating, for transformation and
Nice.
recalibration. So I think that's
Nice.
quite in alignment with today.
Nice. Nice. Well, we'll link everything below. People can get a hold of you. Tell us how the best way to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so the best way is either Instagram at jewel.mondros or my website is jewelmondros.com. And you can always feel free. I always say it because it's so easy. Just send me a DM if you want to know about, how to work with me or if you have a question or want to know where to find me. I'm always happy to chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jewel, and thank you everyone for being here with us on the House of Peregrine podcast. I can't wait to share this episode with all of you, and thank you so much for tuning in. Follow and like if you haven't already. It helps us a lot, and we'll see you next time. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our show. For the latest insights on living internationally, join us at houseofperegrine.com to find out how you can connect with our community. Let's craft our life story with intention together.